I've seen this film a couple of times. Um, Knocked me out. There's so much going on here that it's I'm a big fan of your work because your last film that we talked about, Stranger at the Gate, um, I don't know. I feel like you are able to talk to people in a way that I don't know. I don't want to say like we hear things that we've never heard before, but I kind of feel that way. That's not the right moniker to put on it, but it's this film in a way. I felt so almost intimidated to come into it because if these emotions are so private and they're so deeply held by these parents who've experienced immense loss, but also at the same time I feel like this is very essential. This film does not show violence, it does not show perpetrators. It shows this really big tidal wave of emotion, but I have to say the thing that I have to say about it, though, it never feels bleak. It I feel very present with the emotions of these people. Um, and I mean, this isn't really a question. I'm just kind of rambling about my reaction to the movie, but um, I don't know. I felt like, and even saying the word hopeful almost feels like the wrong word to put my reaction to. So, long roundabout rambling way to say thank you for your time, but also thank you for this movie because it's essential. I keep saying, yeah, no matter what word I say, it won't do the film justice. So sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Um,
oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm glad that you feel that way, and I'm glad that you use the word hopeful because
mm,
I want to believe there's hope in it too. I think there's hope in becoming reawakened to the
mm,
issue, to feeling something around this issue. I think a lot of us have become numb. There's
yeah.
so many, there's over 100 school shootings a year. It's like it's surreal. And this idea that we've actually become numb to it, that it's become normal, that this could possibly we could possibly view this as, oh yeah, that's a normal thing.
Mm,
Oh, it's another headline, about a school shooting, and let's just move on with our day. That's not okay. And I don't
it's
think
messed
any of
up.
us
Yeah.
wants to no one wants to live that way. But we are.
Hmm.
And it's like, and it was like, the question is like, how do we change that? How do we at least start feeling again, like feeling the way that we did the first time, when we heard about Sandy Hook or when we heard about Uvalde? How do we get that feeling back again? That feeling of outrage and anger and like we need to, this can't go on. This isn't okay. How do we get there again? And
Hmm.
the hope is that you know, stepping into these empty rooms and learning about these children who are gone and understanding the impact that that's had on their parents
Yeah.
and their families and their siblings, and then seeing the rooms and seeing all the little knicks and objects and the dirty laundry and the overdue library book and the watch that's still ticking, makes it so real, and I think hopefully reconnects us
Hmm.
and reawakens something that's already in us, that says like this isn't okay, and we need to do something.
Yeah, I think I was. I don't. I should correct myself. When I say I don't want to say hopeful, it was just that I would. I just felt like no words can do this issue justice. We're at that point, and we need to get away from that point. But visually, like the image that I can't get out of my head, and this is from weeks ago when I saw it, was from the I think it was from Dominic's bedroom, the laundry basket so full that it's coming through the little holes in a laundry basket. And just that image is such a human, relatable, recognizable image that it's an empty room, but all the rooms are filled with such spirit and like vitality and life, and color.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, there's a life was there, and you can
mm-hmm,
still feel it. You know, you can feel the room is left exactly as they left it that day, thinking they were going to come home again.
yeah,
And there's a toothpaste cap off the toothpaste tube. There's dirty laundry, and the dirty laundry you refer to, that was the parents have chosen not to wash it because
mm-hmm,
they want to hold on to the smell of their son, and it's been 5 years, but they still keep that laundry.
mm-hmm,
And it becomes the rooms become a way for the parents to reconnect and stay connected to their children. And our hope is that the rooms also help viewers who watch this film to connect with these kids and connect with the issue. And so that the next time that they read about a school shooting, we're not just looking at a headline or a
mm-hmm,
statistic, but we might actually think about, oh, now there's X number of new empty rooms, that then
mm-hmm.
we can imagine them in our mind and feel a little more connected to what's actually happening.
I would much prefer there needs to be like a call to action in terms of how we as a culture react to things, especially in terms of like I don't want to for the rest of my life, I don't want to see another crime scene photo ever again. I never want to see that. And I feel like more people would get outraged if they saw the images that we see uh, in the film, like you're speaking of. Um,
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to ask about structure in terms of how you wanted to. I was really impressed with how we go from there are multiple stories in here, but how we go from one to the other. It's never jarring. It's never like we're finished talking with these folks. We start by an introduction to another set of parents, and I guess I wanted to know um, like how difficult that is, or what kind of pressure you felt in terms of balance, because I think the movie is really beautifully balanced. It really feels like you cradle us in a way that I was really not expecting.
Yeah, well, it's structured like a road trip,
Mm,
and
okay.
this is a road trip movie. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when Steve Hartman, the reporter in the film, approached me about this project that he had been working on. He had
Yeah.
been secretly going around to meet with parents and take pictures of the empty rooms, and the secret was kept from CBS News because he thought if he
Mm,
told them, they might say, no, no, that's not really your brand, or you can't go off and spend 7 years doing this, which is what he did. He spent 7 years, and we were with him for the last few years of it. Uh, but when he approached me and he told me about it, and he asked if I thought there might be a documentary, I said yes, and I also said, and he said, well, if there's a doc, then he said I don't want to be in it,
mm,
and I said, well, you have to be in it. And to your point, it's like this journey is his journey and we're following him.
mm,
And I think that he provides something special in the story, and that we're not alone. We're with this person who's taking us into these rooms.
mm.
And I think that makes it a better journey for the viewer. And yeah, and it is a balance between like Steve's story and Lou's story, Lou's the photographer who's by Steve's side, and then the parents' stories. And it
Mm,
was that was the biggest challenge in making the film, was finding that balance, was how much do we need to know about Steve and how much time do we need to spend with him and hear from him versus how much time we need to hear from the parents. And we felt that, this is really the parents' story. Uh,
mhm,
it's their children, and this is their opportunity to talk about their children and remember their children and to talk about the importance of these empty rooms.
mhm,
And then Steve is the person that takes us along. So we learn about him, but we also, I think, kind of relate to him, and we in some ways I feel like we are him. That's by the end of the film, the last shot is Steve looking into the camera about to deliver his report that he's
mhm.
been reporting on. We already know what he's going to say because we've seen it all. We've been into the rooms at that point. But the last shot is actually from behind. We just see the
Yeah.
back of his head and his shoulders. And, I want, in that moment, I'm hoping people feel like they are him. They're the
Mhm,
ones in front of the camera. And now, this story doesn't have an ending. It just ends at that moment. And, my thought is like, it's up to us, the viewer, to write that ending. Now it's in our hands. What are we going to do?
mhm.
How are we going to respond to this story, to these empty rooms?
Yeah.
What can we do to help finish this story and write an ending? Hopefully, an ending that is positive and creates a place where we don't have to worry about our kids
Mm,
getting killed in school.
yeah. The I'm so glad that you say that the way the film ends, with the shot of the back of the head, because I was going to ask about that because it does feel like you are turning the camera almost to us, even though the focus is on Steve, because it's the first time that we've seen something like this, and it kind of feels like you're almost proposing to us. It was like, now that we have been on this, short journey together of however many journeys this could unfortunately be, like, what are we going to do? How are you going to react? It's sort of almost just like, almost feels like the film was like, I know you feel differently because you haven't seen something like this before. And I think there is I love when movies, especially documentary films, whether feature or short, can sort of gently ask us a question back. I think that's really important. Um,
Mhm.
and also, it's a really, I was wanted to say, it was really affected by the very first, um, not image. It was the screen is black, and the first words that we hear in the movie, I think it's Lou and Steve talking to each other, or maybe you can tell me it's maybe Steve talking to you, but someone says ready, and the other person replies and says yes. So I feel like that at the beginning versus the image we see at the end is a sort of really great book end to each other almost.
Yeah, actually, you're the first person who's talked about or pointed out the opening lines, which
Really?
I
Oh.
very, very intentional, because I think a lot of people go into this film being afraid,
Mm,
being thinking like, oh my God, do I really want to watch this? Can I handle this?
hmm,
And so, we found this moment where we hear Steve and Lou speaking, and Steve says, "Are you ready?" And Lou says, "Yes." And it's exactly what I think some audience members are probably feeling at
mm,
the moment, and is like, "Am I really ready for this?" And so I was hoping that someone would find the resonance in that, and you did.
mm,
It's not, on the surface. I think this is a film that if you know what it's about, you're not necessarily, you might have some fear or some trepidation about watching. But I haven't met anyone so far who's watched it and and hasn't felt like it was worth their time and that it was worth watching. So
mm,
it's you know, it's it's not the easiest film, but I think it's a story that we need to watch.
yeah.
We owe it to the parents who've lost their children. And, th this could be any of us. This could happen to anyone.
Hmm.
None of these parents thought this would happen to them. They said that to us. Uh,
Yeah.
but it can happen to anyone.
Hmm.
It's a story. It's a story for all of us.
Yeah, I think I saw something. It was from somebody who doesn't live in the US. I think they live in Europe. And someone had said something about how, just it was sort of what struck me was an off the cuff remark about how someone said that, you know, gun violence, especially in schools, that's such a uniquely American problem. And it might that it's something that I think we all know, but it's like hearing it said out loud is just like a really messed up thing. I was like, why do we accept this? Why do we live with it like this? It's a really sort of fucked up thing about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like there's a moment in the film where, the photographer Lou Bope is looking at all these photos that he's taken in the rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and he just says something like, "This is just surreal."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What's surreal?" And he said, that we're doing this, that this is even a real thing." And to me, that captures
Mm-hmm.
what we should be feeling about this, that like, how can this be a real thing? But it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I wanted to ask about, um, you're a filmmaker, Steve is a reporter, Lou is a photographer. I sort of don't even know necessarily what I wanted to ask about this, but I like how this film also has three different ways of, or three different types or versions of nonfiction journalism.
Mm.
And I don't want to say like how does that not get like tangled up together or something like that, but I mean you are observing two other journalists working, and I kind of wanted to ask maybe like how do you appreciate that as a filmmaker now after this experience with these two gentlemen? It's just something that I kept thinking about, sort of like a triangle together, the three of you working together to create this story. So I guess I just wanted to maybe see how that affected you as a filmmaker going
Yeah.
forward. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So actually, this is the third film I've made about a photographer.
Mm,
And, there's something about making a documentary about a photographer that I find to be really compelling because
yeah.
you're following this person and you get to literally see what they are seeing. You get to see how they see the world and the things that are of interest to them. And so it forces the viewer to focus in this case, on the details of the bedroom. And
Mm,
I think that, taking those stills and like fixing your eyes on these objects and with a sound of a click, and then it's there, and
mm,
you get to see what he sees. And through that, and through piecing together all these photos, it's creating a portrait of this child. That was I think that's one of the things that drew me to the project
yeah.
was the fact that they were documenting the rooms, and in turn we could show that and show these portraits of the children through the photos. So that was, you know, a key part of, I think, the storytelling in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then following a reporter is always fascinating. You're watching this guy Steve Hartman, have to navigate and figure out how to deal with these situations and walk into these rooms and to hear what he's taking away from this.
Mm,
And Steve doesn't say much in the film.
right.
he's usually a pretty loquacious guy. His reports are very writerly and lots of words and really well chosen words. This is really different because he's walking into these rooms and he's just taking it in, and
Yeah.
he doesn't seem to have a lot to say. But you see on his face what he's thinking and what he's feeling, and that's what was really interesting to me what made it cinematic was just being able to see the expression on his face and to see over time, I feel like you can see on his face the weight of
Hmm.
doing this project. By the end, he looks tired and his eyes are red and he's, um, carrying something. He's carrying some kind of burden, of
Yeah.
having gone through this. And, it's, so yeah, seeing this reporter and this photographer doing their jobs, and it's a very emotional job to go into these rooms was I think what's at the in some ways at the heart of it, because it's also what I think it gives the viewer kind of a vessel, or or a sidekick to go on the road trip with, and to see how they're processing the emotion and the pain. And I think it helps the viewer it enriches the viewer's experience, I think.
Yeah. When I rewatched it um, a few days ago, I this isn't in the film, but I kept thinking about after every single time that he thanks the family and he leaves. For some reason, I kept thinking of like the sound of the front door closing
Mm.
and him like just sort of him walking to the car. I kept thinking about him, or maybe him and Lou sit in silence, or they've worked together on this for such a time that they know, how you can like sense, the emotions from somebody. I don't know. I kept thinking about that a lot. It's not something that's in the movie, but it's something that I uh thought about a lot in terms especially of how this is affecting him. Just random side note of how I watched the
Oh,
movie.
it's interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of silence in the film.
Mm-hmm.
There because there's no words.
Yep.
There's no words needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
of
like
course.
you see what you saw, you hear the parents speak about their children, you see this empty room, you feel the absence, you feel the pain, you feel the sense of loss, you feel the deep sadness that lives in these parents' hearts. And the the pictures speak for it,
Mm-hmm.
and Steve Hartman even says that at the end of the film. He says, "There's not that much to say here."
Yeah.
You know, I want the pictures to tell the story. I don't need to say much.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt about the film. Is there's not that much talking in the film. There's a lot of empty space, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
It's like you're in these empty spaces, but there's also a lot of empty space between the dialogue. There's not a lot of talking because there doesn't need to be.
Yeah. What is there to say? It's yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Josh. I every time I see it, I just sit and think about it, and I think about not just the families that are in it, but the enormity of the families who are affected by this. So thank you so much for your time. I think it's a truly it's a special movie. So just thank you for your time, but also not to be cheesy. Thank you for the movie. It's a perspective that I feel like I haven't seen before. So thank you.
Thanks, Joey, and
Yeah.
thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk
Oh yeah.
about it and share it with the world. We just want people to see the film, and as many people as possible to see this film,
Yeah.
because we think there's something in here that um, that people need to see and we need to talk about. And we're hoping that it helps in some way.
Hmm. Yeah.